Tenpa. There are two, there are a lot of phonemes to that. One of them is the Buddha Dharma, teachings. Another one is reliance. And another one with a different spelling, so it does have a different meaning, but it's exactly the same sound. And sometimes I think these two are conflated, actually. But it's in Shinyin Tenpa. Shinyin Tenpa. And that is generally translated as devotion to one's spiritual friend. Shinyin Tenpa. So I think this is almost certainly what you're relying upon. Sometimes I've seen it translated as reliance upon the spiritual teacher. It's a false translation because it's a different verb. It has a different spelling, a different meaning. And so there's another verb that means to rely. But when you say Shinyin Tenpa, it does not mean to rely. It means a form of devotion. And so I would say devotion, I think I generally do translate it in that way. Devotion to one's spiritual mentor will probably be my standard translation. And that's very closely akin to the whole notion of taking refuge. Very, very similar. And it's something that is extremely common. That is, I think it's a mistake to think, oh, this is something Buddhists do, or this is something Tibetan Buddhists do, or this is something done in Vajrayana. They do that, whereas other religions, other people don't do that kind of thing. In fact, this whole notion of Tenpa is something that's extremely common, and I think it's hard to conceive of living in the modern world without engaging in this verb. And that is, for example, I don't know how to fix teeth. If I have a hole in my tooth, I don't really know what to do about it. I've never studied dentistry at all. Nor do I know how to create an antibiotic. If I have a stomach problem, I don't know how to create an antibiotic that would, I don't know how to tap a penicillin tree I don't know that kind of stuff. I don't know how to fix the electrical wiring in my house, and so forth and so on. My car breaks down, I don't know how to fix it. And so there's an enormous number of areas of knowledge that are really quite indispensable for me to live in this society. I need to drive a car, I need to be able to flick on the switch on light, and so forth and so on. And so this Tenpa, well, let's bring it home a little bit closer to Buddha Dharma, and that is, if you get ill, or you want to get a checkup to see if you have a certain type of illness, you go to someone who has knowledge that you don't have, but frankly, you don't know that that person has all the knowledge that person has. There has to be an element of trust. And so if it's an MD, you say, okay, well, where did he or she get, let's say it's a man, where did he get his degree? How long has he been practicing? Has he been practicing at a reputable clinic? Does he have some recommendations? Have I heard other people that have been treated by him and have gotten good results? And so that gives you some idea of whether you're going to engage in this act of Tenpa to devote yourself to the doctor. Now, to devote yourself to a doctor doesn't mean you offer 3 prostrations and offer incense when you come up, but it does mean that when the doctor asks you questions about your health, family background, health history, and all that kind of stuff, you give him your best shot, your absolutely accurate answers, because this person can't help you if you deceive him. But then the doctor does a diagnosis. Well, you cooperate fully, even if at times it's rather unpleasant. And then when the doctor says, well, you need such and such medication, and this is the diet, and so forth and so on, if you're really engaging in MJ Tenpa, or Memba Tenpa, devoting yourself to your doctor, your healer, then you treat this person with a lot of respect, because you really need this person. And you need this person's expertise, which you don't have. And so you're trusting this person, and you're trusting something you care a lot about, your whole physical well-being. And then when that person finally gives advice, if you have any sense at all, then you follow it. And if it doesn't work out all that well, maybe the diet wasn't quite right or the medication wasn't quite right, you of course have the option of finding another doctor, but you also have the option of going back to the doctor and say, I basically trust you, but I think, could you reassess this? Because this doesn't seem to be working very well, whereas this aspect worked quite well. And you might get a second opinion as well. And so that would be a close metaphor. And then a more distant one would be dentistry, another one a financial advisor. You have money you want to invest, which you work hard to get. You don't know enough about economics as your economic advisor, but you're going to trust him or her. So we have parallels about this all over the place. You spend a lot of money for the plumbing in your house, but you have to trust somebody to fix it. Well, it's really not profoundly different for Dharma. But now the stakes are higher. And I think some people treat it as if the stakes are lower. As if, well, just go off and get, somebody's come to town, well, why not? Let's go try that out as if it's, you're investing in bingo or something. But to follow a spiritual teacher is actually the highest stakes, because you're investing not just the plumbing in your house, not just your teeth, not just your physical body, which of course in a Buddhist context, this is just one of many bodies, but you're entrusting your spiritual well-being, your very well-being itself. And from a Buddhist perspective, of course, you are sowing seeds right now that you'll be reaping not only in this lifetime, future lifetimes. And if you really engage in the act of devotion, the ongoing act of devotion to a spiritual mentor, and it's a deep connection of one of very profound trust, then this is a relationship that in a traditional Buddhist context, and I am a rather traditional Buddhist, this is a relationship you would really love to see continuing from lifetime to lifetime, all the way until you're achieved enlightenment. And so there aren't any stakes higher than that. If you devote yourself to a teacher who's not qualified, maybe is deluded, or maybe has really unhealthy motivation, and you entrust yourself to that person can profoundly lead you astray, and the results can be much more harmful than going to a really bad dentist that louses up your teeth, or a doctor that irreparably damages your body by an improper surgery, bad medication, and what have you. This is disastrous. Or a person, you go to an economic advisor and he wipes you out, or maybe actually steals your money. Well, that's really too bad. But beyond, way more sorrowful than that is devoting oneself, really entrusting oneself to a spiritual mentor who's either incompetent or has an impure motivation. So the stakes are very high. And the potential benefits are enormous.
Like what?
Finding that your mind is purified, that you're finding greater happiness, that your capacity for compassion, for wisdom, for mindfulness, for focused attention, for developing in a myriad of ways on the spiritual path are becoming enhanced, a flowering on the spiritual path, on this path that is so profoundly good, and the healing of the mind of these harmful tendencies. Those are some of the benefits in this lifetime. And finding that one also, in a very practical way, one can be of greater and greater service to others, more effective service, due to the kindness of your own teachers and being a recipient of the benefit they've bestowed upon you. That's just within this lifetime. Now, I do believe that this is not the only lifetime. I see nothing that is incompatible with science, and as I mentioned earlier, this has been a very big issue for me, to see whether the core themes of Buddha Dharma are really incompatible with scientific findings. And if the scientific findings are compelling, then I, following in the footsteps of my teacher, the Dalai Lama, I'm willing to profoundly reassess claims made in Buddhism if they're clearly repudiated by compelling scientific evidence. I have not found any scientific evidence that refutes the Buddhist theory of the continuity of consciousness, of reincarnation or karma. It's not corroborated by science, but they just have not been looking in the right areas to be able to corroborate it. And so the potential benefits, not only from this lifetime but beyond, are, if I take my own case, I say, right now, if I were a betting man, I would say, chances are not very likely that I'm going to become a Buddha in this life. I'm 54 years old, got a lot of work to go yet. I could die tomorrow, that would really snip off my chances, but even if I live another 30 years or so, I would say it's not absolutely impossible, but I wouldn't bet the bank on it. But that doesn't leave me with a sense of sorrow and dismay, but rather I'll do my very best in this lifetime, try to cultivate very meaningful, enduring relationships with my teachers, with the Buddha Dharma as a whole, because whatever development, whatever degree of maturation I can bring about in this lifetime, then I would anticipate that I will be able to continue this practice, pick up where I've left off, in a brand new, fresh body that hopefully has conducive circumstances for practicing Dharma, and to be able to reconnect with these wonderful teachers that I've encountered in this lifetime. As I suspect, and this is purely an act of faith, that a number of the teachers I've connected with in this lifetime, I have actually had contact with in previous lifetimes. It's purely a matter of faith, but it is faith that I have. And so in that way, then the benefits of such engagement, such a healthy, respectful, reverent relationship with a spiritual teacher can reap much harvest in this lifetime as well as future lifetimes.